Okay. Before I begin, who here has traveled outside the United States? Either business or personal? Well, this ought to be easy. I'm the only one in this room. Alright, well, let me begin then. A little history about myself. Me personally, I did about 8.5 years in the Marine Corps. And during that period of time, went on 3 deployments, and I'm about to cover my positive experience in the country of Japan. Okay. Well, the year is probably it was late 2007 or early 2008. That's when I got to travel to Japan on the government's dollar. Sit there, we were stationed out of Iwakuni, Japan at the time. Excuse me. While there's 2 main places everyone went. Was the Kentai Bridge and Hiroshima. I went to the Kentai Bridge with Lance Corporal Daniels, because you're not allowed to leave base by yourself for any reason at all. So me and Daniels went to the Kentai Bridge as our first stop, and sit there. We got very fortunate because they were celebrating the bloom of the cherry blossom at the time. Being Iwakuni, nothing big. You want to go see the big ones? You'll hop on the internet and you'll find a place called Kyoto, Japan. And that's where they had the Kyoto Gardens. Yeah, I'm just going to stick with Iwakuni because that's where we were at. Iwakuni is a small town compared to Kyoto. And the locals are very welcoming of the base there at the time. And they accepted us like one of their own. One of the older gentlemen, he wanted to sit there pull us aside, like, just want to pass some knowledge on. Sit there, taught us the significance of the cherry blossom to Japanese culture. He stated that the cherry blossom represents the fragility of life, and beauty, but also how tragically short life is. Just let that sink in for a second. How life is very short, and it's also very fragile at the same time. So you gotta sit there, you gotta appreciate the small things, and never take tomorrow for granted. That's what I got out of it. You would never want to take tomorrow for granted. Anything could happen, and tomorrow's never guaranteed. And that was the significance of the cherry blossom. I mean, you look, the river that goes through this Kentai Bridge is the Nishiki River. If you want to look it up, and sit there, you can see how these trees, they just follow parallel for quite a long distance, couple miles. And it's just nothing but these trees. And every one of them is beautiful. And let me go to the next one I want to visit. Was Hiroshima. We went to Hiroshima as the following weekend after leaving the cherry blossoms. And it's about a 45-minute train ride from Iwakuni. The first place we stopped was Hiroshima Castle. And you're thinking castle, most people probably think, European castles, all the stones, built 500 some years ago. That's not the Hiroshima Castle. Hiroshima Castle was rebuilt, and I don't know the exact information on when it was rebuilt, but it was rebuilt after World War II, I'll tell you that much. Because you go to the castle is about 3 stories tall, and the very top deck, it's an overlook on the top deck. And you look at it, they have pictures. Pictures are before World War II, during World War II, after the bombing of Hiroshima, and you get the overlook of what it looks like today. You sit there and look at that, and you just go, wow. I can't believe what happened here. You're looking at a fully developed city coming from nothing. Can you, and then it's just, I'm still overwhelmed by seeing what bare land and skyscrapers. I just can't imagine what it'd take to come through that situation. Then if you go outside, when you're outside the castle, they have these little, look like saplings with these tags on them. The tags are yellow, very noticeable. In America, we look at those tags and go, oh, this tree's a eucalyptus or pine tree. No, that's not what this case was. This case was this little sapling survived the bombing of Hiroshima. Can you imagine what that would have been like? Even for a tree, nonetheless. I noticed this when I was leaving Hiroshima Castle and going to what they call the A-bomb dome. Obviously, I think everyone knows A-bomb's the atom bomb dome. That's the only building survived the bombing of Hiroshima. The only. You can see a picture of it in Hiroshima Castle, what was left of it, and they have it sit there fenced off, still standing, to show you the devastation that Hiroshima went through. It's actually, from what I understand, it's also considered a national historic landmark right now. And the last place of Hiroshima we visited was the Children's Museum of the Children's Peace Monument. I'm sorry. I could talk about something else some other places we visited, but I wanted to choose this last one because back then, I don't think me or Daniels would understand the significance of what that monument means compared to today. That monument has changed me for the longer I've lived. Back then, like I said, some 20-year-old single guy, Children's Monument or Peace Museum. He didn't think anything of it. He thought some cool place to hang out. Now 10 years later, you're sitting there, I was a retard. Because now you're sitting there, you have 3 kids, a wife, and you visited a monument about the children who passed away during an atomic bomb. I got 3 girls and a son today. I don't know what they went through. I can only base it off stories of the population that's dying today. And it's dying due to old age. Those stories ain't going to be around forever. That's what this monument here is here for, to pass on the stories of all the children and their family who went through this tragic disaster. There's also a story about that monument, about the little girl who that monument represents. Her name was, let me check my notes, I'm sorry, was Sabaku Sasaki. I apologize if I butchered that name, I'm sorry. She was 2 when the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. She made it to the 7th grade. That's when her life took a turn for the worst. And she was diagnosed with leukemia, which was happening to everyone back then in that city. Like I said, she made it to the 7th grade. And her friend went and took her origami paper, and she started folding origami cranes. She believed that she made it to 1,000, she would have been cured of leukemia and the effects of radiation on her body. She made it to about 600 something origami cranes. She didn't make it to 1,000, and she passed away. People to this day still send her cranes. Mostly children, but still. This happened over 70 years ago, and people are still sending her cranes to this monument. With my children, once they're old enough to understand what happened during World War II and what even war represents to this world, I think Sobako is going to have 3 more cranes for my children to show them the effects of the war and the human toll it represents. Peace Monument isn't about forgetting your past. It's about remembering your past and learning from it. And that's why this monument's more towards world peace than what happened there on that day. And before I wrap this up, is there any questions? Okay. My time in Japan has been very humbling, to say the least. It has showed me that they're a culture of compassion, and they want to sit there and have no one forget about what they've been through at the same time. They show me that life is fragile, and your time's only very short on this world. So you don't want to take anything for granted. And that's all I have. Before I leave, is there any questions? Thank you.